Happy Testicle Tuesday, YouTube. I'm back with 5 things I've been up to over the last little while, and I'm also back to the sports jersey stream of dress wear during these videos. So the last couple videos I did, or maybe not the last couple, but the first 2 videos I did with jerseys on, it was my old softball teams. This here is from high school football. This was my grade 9 jersey. It was my least favorite of the jerseys. I got pigeonholed to play defense, cornerback, no less, which I did not like. And when it came to picking jersey numbers, I was in grade 9, so I got one of the last choices, and I got 21. I don't like 21, so not my favorite jersey. Still love it, but easily my least favorite of all my 4 years of high school football. So next time we'll see what I had in grade 10. So, but anyways, this was my grade 9, my debut high school football jersey, and it's still in pretty good shape, considering it's, well, this is from 1990, so let's just say it's fucking old, just like me. So, anyways, to the stuff that I did. Couple books, TV series, couple movies, a little bit of everything other than video games, which is strange because usually there's at least one of those or more in these little reviews or summaries, if you will. First up, Star Wars Queen's Hope. This is the 3rd book of the Padme Amidala trilogy of books that focuses kind of on her role in galactic events around that time. This one picks up right after the Clone Wars open on Geonosis, and Padme and Anakin are on Naboo, and they're getting ready for their secret wedding. So, kind of, Padme's having reservations because she's got to keep this information from all of her handmaidens who are so important to her and play such a big role in her life. And so she's feeling a little guilty about that, but she's dealing. And Anakin's just kind of feeling guilty as well about what he did on Tatooine with slaughtering all the Tusken Raiders. So there's some volatility going on with both of them for various reasons. And before they can even get married at the last minute, the new Queen of Amidala, the Queen of Naboo, Queen Jamila, or however you say it, comes to Padme and says, "Oh, I got a real important task for you if you can do it." Some Naboo artists have escaped to a different world, in protest of what's been going on with the war and everything, and she wants Padme to bring them back. And it turns out they end up successfully completing this mission, and it turns out that the new queen was so adamant about this mission being undertaken by Padme, somebody she could trust, because one of these artists was the new queen's sister, so it was kind of important to her. So then they get back, they have their wedding, blah blah blah. And eventually Padme is tasked with another mission by I think Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, to basically, it was kind of to offer like medical aid on some planet. I forget what it is, but it was all a front. It was all developed by the Nemoidians to get Padme to an area where they could be in communication with her. And I forget the guy's name, but he's a Nemoidian that wants to bring a better reputation to the planet after Newt Gunray and his cronies staged that invasion of Naboo in the Phantom Menace, and really Padme and Naboo in general do not trust the Nemoidians anymore, and they are put off by this race of aliens. And so when she was manipulated into this situation and contacted by this guy, she was immediately like kind of on her back foot going, whoa. But then she sees how sincere he is, and his plan is to eventually replace Lot Dodd in the Imperial Senate and become a new voice for Nemoidia and try and wrong some of the moves they have made in the past, including all the wrongs they did to Naboo with that invasion and that occupation and whatnot. And so while Padme is gone, Anakin's off kind of fighting the war, and he comes back to Coruscant. But while Padme's gone, she has one of her handmaidens, Sabe, fill in for her and make kind of her appearances and her decisions and whatnot. And while this is going on, Anakin comes back to Padme's apartment to see her one night, and he's like, "You're not Padme." And Sabe doesn't really like Anakin. She doesn't like some of his personality traits. So Sabe kind of discovers indirectly this secret marriage between Padme and Anakin, and eventually sets her feelings aside, her bad feelings aside of Anakin, and does start to come around on him a little bit. But while Sabe is filling in for Padme in the Senate, she sees all of the corruption and the bullshit that goes on Coruscant in the Senate with the war and all the other stuff that's going on. She's like, I love Padme. I've loved being her handmaiden, but I can't do this anymore. And when Padme asked her to step in for her, she was on Tatooine with Captain Tonra, and she had been on Tatooine once before. Their mission there was to free all the slaves, or as many as they could. And their first attempt wasn't that successful. They rushed it. They didn't do it right. So they were going back for a second attempt, and were going to take their time, do it right. So she was really into this mission when she got called back by Padme, and in this experience on Coruscant, filling in for Padme made her realize she can't do it anymore. So once Padme's back from her mission, Sabe and her have a big long talk, and Padme is disappointed, obviously, but sets Sabe's fears and worries aside, saying, I get it, it's fine, whatever, it's cool. And then they get back to just having a sleepover like they did when they were younger, and things were better, and get back to just being friends and whatever. And so it was kind of an interesting book in that nothing really huge happened. Like, you're used to Star Wars books being like these grand battles and all this stuff. It was a lot of more subtle kind of storytelling and events that happened in this book. Just kind of fleshing out Padme's character and her relationship with Anakin, her relationship with her handmaidens. But a good book. Just a little different kind of pace, a little different kind of tone to this book than a lot of other Star Wars books. Next up, I was happy for this, excited for this. Percy Jackson and the Chalice of the Gods. I got this for Christmas. It was on my list. I love the Percy Jackson series, and all the other offshoot series that have sprung from it. I took a couple of Greek myth courses in university with one of my best friends who has since passed away, and her and I had so much fun in these classes, because basically, like, the Greek gods are ridiculous, and the stuff they get up to is crazy and hilarious and sick and evil. And going to these courses it was like story time. They would just tell all these stories of the Greek gods, and it was just really entertaining. It was my favorite classes of all time. And so when I heard of this book series where Rick Riordan is basically not retelling, but reimagining the Greek gods in modern times, and writing new adventures, while at the same time filling us in on kind of the history of these gods, I was like, yes, please. And I still remember we were on a trip to Las Vegas years and years and years ago when these books, the first ones first came out, and we had a stopover in Denver. And I remember it because Team Canada was playing Team USA in hockey for either the World Cup or the Olympics or some shit. And I remember watching a Canada-US game in a bar in Denver, and Canada lost bad. They had a shitty round-robin game, and all the Americans were all blah, 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 and I was getting so pissed off. I was ready to start a fight in the middle of the Denver airport, but I was like, you don't want to get arrested. You just got to get to Vegas and have fun. You'll forget this. It's just the round-robin. Canada's going to win anyway, and they did. Just chill. But to distract myself, I went to one of the stores within the airport and found the very first Percy Jackson book and was hooked after that. So, and it's continued through all the offshoot series and everything. But this is one of the latest ones. So basically in this one, in order to get into New Rome University alongside his girlfriend Annabeth, Zeus has basically laid out to Percy that you've got to complete 3 quests for the gods. and get a letter of recommendation from each of these gods, whoever they may be, in order to get into this university and pursue your education and be with your girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, are you kidding me? He has a guidance counselor, a naiad maybe. I can't remember what kind of spirit she is. That's kind of walking him through everything at his school and what he has to do to fulfill these quests and whatever. So the first god that approaches Percy soon reveals himself. It is Ganymede, who is the cupbearer of the gods. He fills their drink vessels at all their fancy feasts. So his chalice has gone missing. So whenever Zeus calls the next meeting of the gods, Ganymede's going to be exposed as having lost his chalice if he can't get it back before then. So this is what he has tasked Percy with. So their first couple suspects are Hebe, I don't know how to say her name, and then Iris, who they kind of figure out neither of them are behind the taking of the chalice. So finally, on their third attempt, they find a minor god named Gyrus, who is the god of old age, has taken the cup from Ganymede. Ganymede is this really young, handsome kind of guy, and Gyrus is kind of pissed off that he was just granted immortality and will stay young and beautiful forever, whereas Gyrus is the god of old age and is a hideous old man sort of thing, right? So he took the chalice because he's jealous. So Percy confronts him, and Gyrus is like, they agree on, if you can beat me in a wrestling match, I'll give you the chalice back. But Gyrus, despite being an old man, is powerful as fuck. So Percy takes on Gyrus in this wrestling match and is, so close to defeat so many times, but keeps hanging in there, and he's like, how am I going to defeat this guy? So he finally decides to give Gyrus a hug. He embraces the hideous old man. He embraces the concept of old age, and Gyrus is floored and like, okay, you got me, you win, here's the chalice, right? So they get the chalice, but they soon find out from Ganymede that Zeus has just called a summit of the gods, and you need to get the chalice to me ASAP. So Percy has to go to Mount Olympus, which is at the top of the Empire State Building in New York, and sneak into this meeting of the gods and get Ganymede his chalice before he is needed to fill the gods' cups. So there's one last kind of suspenseful sequence of action as Percy infiltrates Mount Olympus and gets Ganymede his chalice, and he is helped out along the way by Athena, who is Annabeth's mother. And that's kind of a step because Athena has been so kind of like removed from helping Annabeth and Percy and recognizing them as, kind of demigods and Annabeth as her daughter sort of thing. So it was a big step forward that Athena saw Percy on Mount Olympus and saw what he was trying to do and provided a little bit of help for him sort of thing. So really good book. Obviously there's going to be two more because he's got quest number 1 is out of the way. He's got his letter of recommendation from Ganymede, but he's got 2 more coming. So we'll keep our eyes open for those books whenever they come out. Next up, a DVD set from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is the most current Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, which started in 2018. As far as I know, it's done. It only did 2 seasons for 30 or 40 something episodes. What I don't like about the Turtles DVDs now is they don't release them in full seasons. They release these little batches of episodes, and they're not even in chronological order. It's ridiculous, but it's the only way I can get it, so what are you going to do? So this collection is only 1 disc and includes 7 episodes from season 1. And they're not, like I said, they're not all sequential. It includes, I think, the first 4 or 5, and then it kind of bounces down to like 10 and 11 and leaves some of the other ones out. Like, it's really, really weird. So this cartoon seems almost like early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like before they've met the Shredder, and like it's like kind of when they're first coming into their teenage years and their powers, and they haven't really been out on the town. They're just kind of sheltered by Splinter. Splinter's paranoid of the outside world. and yeah, they're just kind of, they're in their early teenage years. And so we don't see the Shredder at all in these first 7 episodes of this collection. We see random kind of minor villains along the way, like a guy that's stealing all the city's paper. That episode's called Origami Tsunami, right? Like, so good, kind of small, goofy stuff like that. My 2 favorite episodes were right near the end of it. Yeah, one of them was called Mascot Melee. So the turtles are basically at a sporting event up on the scoreboard watching the game from, or is it a wrestling match? I can't remember what it is. But they end up, or no, is that a different one? I can't remember, but they end up getting mixed up with some sporting teams' mascots. I think 3 of them. And it turns into this big fight with these mascots, and the mascots aren't really necessarily who you think they are, sort of thing. And it was a really interesting episode. But my favorite one was called the Minotaur Maze. So the turtles go to a pizza joint or something like that, but inside the restaurant they find this kind of hidden, it's like a restaurant for mutants. So they walk in and they're like, holy shit, there's all sorts of different people in here like us, all these mutants, we could just be ourselves here. So that's kind of weird to begin with, that there's a mutant restaurant, but at the back of it, there's this entrance to this maze where if you are able to figure the maze out and defeat the champion or whatever, you will earn yourself the right to a free best pizza in the world sort of thing. Like, it's the best pizza ever made. So Michelangelo naturally is like, guys, we got to do this. So they do it, and the only stipulation is they can't use any of their mystical powers to beat the maze or whatever. So they have to go just straight up legit. And so obviously they use their powers, they get in trouble, and they have to face off against the champion that's in the middle of the maze and whatever. And eventually they don't make the wall of fame, they make the wall of shame for cheating, this sort of thing. So I like the cartoon better than I thought I would, because it's got a really different look to the animation, and the turtles all look kind of weird and different. Like, Raphael's just this huge hulking guy, and they don't just have the straight bandanas. Like, Raph's is like his whole head. Donnie also is kind of weird, and some of them are really tall and skinny. Raph's really huge. Really different look to the turtles and feel to the turtles in this one. But I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I thought the voice actors did a really good job. And it's still, despite the turtles being a lot different, it still had the spirit of the 4 brothers and how they interacted with each other, and just kind of the general vibe of the Ninja Turtles was captured really well in this cartoon. So I was pleasantly surprised that I liked this cartoon a lot more than I thought I was going to. I was obviously going to watch it because I love the turtles. I consume as much turtles as I can, but I'm just happy that it was better than I was planning on it to be, sort of thing. So last up, a couple movies. First up, looking forward to this one for a long time, Gran Turismo from 2023, a really recent movie. It is a real life story, apparently. So basically, a guy named Danny Moore, who works for Nissan, approaches, he has some sort of meeting with a whole bunch of higher ups in the automobile industry, maybe some racing people. He thinks, he has an idea that Gran Turismo, the game, the racing simulator, there's so many millions of people play it, and some of the people are so good that he comes up with an idea that he wants to put out a competition where the 10 best Gran Turismo racers, the 10 best times, or the people that can win all these races, will get a chance to drive a real live race car in a race, and maybe join a circuit or whatever. So there's 10 people so basically, like, all these people that are chosen are sent an invite to participate in these races, and whoever has the best times and wins these races are going to be invited to, I forget where it even takes place, the training, but invited to a Nissan facility where they're all going to learn how to race. And Danny recruits a guy named David Salter, I think his name is, who works for this high-end racing company now as the crew chief. And he's like, no, that's a stupid idea. These kids are going to get killed. Like, it's one thing to sit behind a screen with a controller in your hand than to be actually in a car where there's G-forces pressing on you. You can crash. You can, but after dealing with his douchebag driver on this team and just seeing the pretentiousness and all the bullshit, he's like, okay, I'm in. It's a stupid idea, but I'm in. I'm going to help you, and we'll see how it goes. So in the end, there's 10 drivers from across the world, and the main character of the story is a guy from Britain somewhere, I think Cardiff, they said, named Jan Mardenborough. And he ends up being the one who makes it through all the training, and in the end, the top, was it 3 or 4 racers that were left in the training academy did one last race against each other, and whoever won the race is the one that was going to represent and go in an actual live race. So Jan ended up winning and signs a contract with Nissan, blah, 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 and ends up working really closely with David to get him ready to go. Their relationship is rocky at first because David's kind of a salty old man sort of thing. But eventually they start getting along, and he really starts getting invested in Jan's success and whatever. And I think they have 7 races on this circuit, and if Jan's able to place 4th place or better in just one of the races, he'll qualify for the circuit and be able to continue racing and whatever, and they'll give him a shot actually on a circuit in a league or season or whatever, right? So it takes until their last race, which I think is in Dubai maybe, where he is finally able to crack that 4th or better, and is able to make it. So he signs a contract, blah blah blah. He's good to go. He's really starting to make waves and starts finishing better and better as he goes into this season and gets comfortable. And of course, all the existing racers, not all of them, but there's a couple of douchebags that are really gunning for him because they're like some teenage fucking video game player. We're not going to let him show us up, right? So he's obviously got a target on his back. And then as soon as this scene came, like they just introduced this track and they didn't say the name, and I just saw some visuals from it, and I'm like, oh god, it's Nürburgring. So there's this racetrack in Germany that's been in the Gran Turismo games for, I don't think it was in the first couple games on PS1, but maybe when it got to PS2, that's when they introduced it. I don't remember for sure, but it's this track in Germany that's just it's long, and it's just a beast. It's winding and it's hilly, and it's just, you're on the brakes, you're off the brakes, you're really trying to string together turns without able to really see what's coming next, sort of thing. It's a grueling track. As soon as they introduced this track, I was like, oh no, he's got to do Nürburgring. And so he ends up and I know exactly what part of the track this is. He was coming up, there's a really like hilly part where you come up and then you go down, and as he was coming up off the top of it, the wind got under him, and he went over the fence and stuff like that, and he ended up having this horrific crash where he got all banged up, and he ended up killing a spectator. So he was obviously distressed by this and couldn't even fathom getting in a race car again. But David kind of had a heart-to-heart with him on the track. They went to the turn where the accident happened, and he said, and all this time David has not made it, not been shy to make it known that he used to race, but he quit. And so at this point he reveals why he quit, and the kind of same thing happened to him. He had an accident, same kind of thing happened, and he just kind of lost his nerve and couldn't do it anymore. So Jan is kind of given this pep talk by him, and told it's not your fault. It's racing is racing. It happens. You got to get back behind that wheel and get her done. So this all leads up to the biggest event of the year, which is the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France. Yeah, it's France. So it's an actual 24-hour race. So one driver obviously can't do it. You have to tag out every so often. So they get 2 racers from the academy that he went with, 2 of his buddies. So they all team up in this Le Mans race to try and tackle this thing. And if they're, but there's been a big protest against them, and after the accident and stuff, and the existing racers are using that accident where he killed a spectator to see, like, he doesn't belong here. He should be kicked out. Like, this is ridiculous. This was a bad idea from the start, and look what happened. So in order for Jan to stay in the league, stay a racer, his Le Mans team has to finish on the podium at Le Mans, which is a huge ask. So that's kind of the last part of this movie, is the race at Le Mans, and how they fare in that. And obviously during the race, Jan has a moment where he remembers the crash and kind of goes into brain fart mode and can't compete until he snaps out of it, sort of thing. I'm not going to tell you how it ends and how he does. You have to watch it to see, but you can kind of guess where it's going, right? Awesome movie, though. I loved it. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, because I was like, when I first saw Gran Turismo, the movie, I was like, how the fuck are they going to make a movie out of a racing simulator video game? And then they said, and then I heard it's based on a true story, and I'm like, what? Based on a true story? Like, what is this movie all about? And then now it all makes sense. I had no idea this story actually happened. Like, it was so weird. I'm good at Turismo. Why couldn't it have been me? Whatever. My chance will come. No, it won't. Last up, Ant-Man and Wasp, Quantumania. Another 2023 movie. So this takes place after the Avengers battle with Thanos and the blip and all that stuff. Ant-Man has he hasn't been up to much action. Scott Lang has actually written a book about his adventures, and he's busier touring, doing book signings and readings than he is doing any superheroing. In the meantime, his daughter Cassie has been working on something he doesn't know about, and she keeps getting in trouble with the law, sort of thing, for helping people and protesting and blah blah blah. And eventually one day, after he picks her up from jail, and they're at family dinner with Scott's girlfriend or wife, Hope Van Dyne, and her parents, Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. They go down to the basement, and it's revealed that Cassie, who is also very brilliant, has built this machine that can allow them to communicate and study the quantum realm without having to go there. Only Hank and Cassie knew about this. So as soon as Janet hears this, and she was stuck there for 30 years, she goes, shut it down, turn it off, destroy it. And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, you haven't told us anything about your 30 years in the quantum realm. Like, we don't know what's there. We don't know why you're so upset about us building this machine. But before anything can happen, the machine malfunctions, something comes out of it, and then everybody is sucked into it, and everybody's in the quantum realm all of a sudden. So Scott and Cassie kind of get separated from Hope and Hank and Janet. So both factions, their first task is to try and locate the rest of their family and meet back up with everybody. But obviously stuff starts happening, and before then, and Hank and everybody else other than Janet, because she was there, are amazed that there's creatures and other humans and things that are living that aren't human here. Like, we thought there was nothing in the quantum realm, and Janet's like, no, there's nothing in the quantum realm. So eventually everybody meets up with each other, and she's like, we're gonna go knock on one of my friend's doors from when I was here, and who's played by Bill Murray. So Bill Murray was in this movie, and I forget his name in the movie, but she kind of enlists his help, and they're having a nice lunch. But then the conversation turns, and Janet suddenly realizes, oh no, we're in trouble. So her old friend has now aligned with who's ruling the quantum realm right now, Kang the Conqueror. Janet has experience with Kang the Conqueror because when she was back in the quantum realm, he tricked her into helping him when he crash landed there and was injured, and his ship was destroyed. So she helped him get better, and she helped him rebuild his ship, only to find out he's a fucking homicidal maniac, and he was actually exiled to the quantum realm by his people for being such a dick. So she regrets this, and eventually when she got back to Earth, she didn't talk anything about this and whatever. But in the meantime, Kang has been ruling over the quantum realm, and there is a big resistance going on kind of against him. So the rest of the movie is kind of Ant-Man and Wasp and their family kind of running from Kang and aligning with the resistance movement in the quantum realm to eventually try and defeat Kang the Conqueror, and obviously eventually get themselves home. So it's full of action, it's full of laughs. It obviously, most of it takes place in the quantum realm, so it's not like a lot of movies that all take place on Earth and everything's recognizable. The quantum realm is just a crazy place full of weird landscapes and crazy creatures and bizarre everything. So it was really kind of cool. I really enjoyed that part about it because it was just so imaginative and creative and crazy. And in the end, let's just say we're left on a bit of a cliffhanger. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, because if you like Marvel movies and you like Ant-Man and everything, you're probably going to want to watch it for yourself and find out what happens, because it's like I said, it's left on a big cliffhanger. So I imagine they're going to be tying that story up somehow at some point with another Ant-Man and Wasp movie, or maybe they tie it into another movie, how that all resolves itself. But either way, I heard that this movie didn't get the greatest of reviews, but I quite enjoyed it. So, but I enjoy almost everything. So because why hate something, right? I mean, well, that's not true. There's a lot of people I hate, but I don't hate a lot of the stuff that I consume media-wise, because what's there to hate about it, right? Enjoy it. And if you don't think you're going to enjoy it, don't watch it. It's as simple as that. Stop your whining and bitching and just don't watch it in the first place. Anyways, that's my little tirade for the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed these 5 things. I'm already working on the next 5. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but I will be back. Meow.